Hey guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin. Today we're unboxing the 13-inch MacBook Pro with Apple's M1 processor. So, if you're not familiar with the M1, Apple is transitioning its entire lineup from Intel processors to its own custom ARM processors. So these are complete compared to Qualcomm on the Windows side. Qualcomm is using ARM architecture. Apple's using the ARM instruction set. So these are completely custom chips that it's using, and they're pretty good. So we're going to see how good they are, though, especially in today's ecosystem, right? Intel sent me this product, okay? So they sent me this, all right, and they sent me some other stuff. So this is going to be the start of a project that I'm going to be working on for possibly a couple months, because there's going to be different parts of it. So right now we're unboxing the product, and I'm introducing you to this project. We're going to look at app compatibility. We're going to look at hardware compatibility. We're going to look at some other stuff, and then finally I'm going to review the product. Now, Intel also sent me some other stuff, right? The other introduction to this product is going to be the unboxing of the Razer Book 13, but they also sent me some hardware to check. Obviously, this stuff is not going to work because that's kind of the point. But, by the way, being that Intel sent me all this stuff, that doesn't sway what my opinion of the product is going to be or what I'm going to write about it, obviously. But we have a USB-C to 8K DisplayPort adapter. We have a portable SSD with a fingerprint sensor on it, right? So this is a 2 terabyte portable SSD with a fingerprint sensor. Now, from what I understand, the fingerprint sensor part of it is not going to work with the M1 Mac. We've got a Thunderbolt Station 3 Plus dock, okay? It gets better, though. We have, this guy right here. This is from, this is the Razer Core X. It's an external graphics enclosure, and that obviously connects to Thunderbolt 3. And then we've got a RTX 2080 Ti. So most of the stuff's not going to work with the Mac, and that's a big part. That's a big message that Intel is trying to push, and they're not wrong, okay? But they're trying to push the compatibility angle, which totally makes sense, because remember, Thunderbolt 4 is big. Now, Apple promised Thunderbolt 4 with their with the M1 MacBooks, but from what I understand, or from what Intel told me, you can't connect more than one external display to this machine. Now, that's a really strange limitation. I don't think that's a niche use case at all, especially considering that this is supposed to be a pro machine, right? So, only being able to connect one external monitor is a pretty significant limitation. But I'm going to try that out as well. I'm going to try different methods. One person told me that you'll be able to do it if you... I don't know. There's some certain way to do it. I'll try all different ways. All right. So this is the MacBook Pro. It's it's a design that we've seen for some time. There's only 2 ports on it, which I thought there used to be 4. No. All right. Yeah. So there's 2 USB Type-C ports, and then we've got a headphone jack on this side, and that's the MacBook Pro. I haven't used a MacBook since the 2013 MacBook Air. That was the first Haswell PC. And man, that got me excited when they're like 12 hours of battery life. And it delivered, you know. But yeah, that was a 4th gen Intel processor. I don't know if you remember a little bit of Intel processor history, but Haswell was big because you had some big power efficiency stuff there, and suddenly battery life on laptops was getting good, and that was like the start of getting to where we are today. Because before that, you had like Ivy Bridge and Sandy Bridge. You had a laptop, you get maybe 3 hours of battery life out of it, and that's it. Let's see what else we got. Obviously, a USB Type-C to Type-C cable, and there's power brick. This is probably it's 61 watts. Apple doesn't use the regular wattages that other companies use. Like anybody else would just send you a 65 watt charger. Nope. Apple has a 61-watt charger. So it will be more of a pain point if you use this with other devices. And that's it. I assume we have our little Apple stickers in here. Apple loves their stickers. Yeah, you know, Apple stickers. I've never actually used them for anything, but I don't know. I've seen them in public a couple times, but that's it. So this is the 13-inch MacBook Pro. It feels pretty light. It's interesting to me that Apple didn't do anything to redesign the product or take advantage of any of the really cool stuff that ARM has offered, maybe on the Windows side, where like with the Qualcomm PCs, you're seeing thinner and lighter stuff. Stuff that you wouldn't like. For instance, the Samsung Galaxy Book S. It's super thin, super light. It's fanless, and you really couldn't get there with a regular Intel Core processor. They ended up doing one with Lakefield, but you know, with a U series Core processor, you just couldn't do it. Oh, I hate that. Don't try to talk to me. But see, we have Mac OS. So the reason for that is because these ARM processors do tend to be more power efficient. They can, performance per watt is great, and you don't need a fan. So obviously there are app compatibility issues, but if you look at the Samsung Galaxy Book S, a native ARM64 app beats a native x86 app in the Lakefield version. But Apple didn't do that here. Like, the chassis is the same as it was in the Intel model. And by the way, they do still sell Intel models of the MacBook Pro 13-inch. So I'm surprised they didn't take advantage of that. I'm surprised they didn't take advantage of cellular. That's another thing that Qualcomm pushed on the Windows side, which is integrated 4G LTE. And I have no idea why Intel hasn't gotten on board with this yet. But for some reason on Intel PCs, there's still a huge premium that you have to pay in order to get cellular connectivity. Qualcomm is making it. So really, Apple is just boasting performance. So we are going to test performance a lot. We're going to test, obviously, different kinds of use cases and see which one is better. Intel showed me benchmarks, but obviously I'm not just going to do a review based on what Intel told me it is. So we're going to test this stuff, and we're going to see how it goes. All right, any accessibility stuff? Not now. All right, so there you have it. We have a Retina display. How do I get rid? All right. I'm not new to macOS, but it's been a while. But we have a Retina display. So what Retina display means is or what it's supposed to mean is that someone with 20/20 vision looking at an average viewing distance shouldn't see any pixelation at all. Right, so that's always seemed pretty accurate to me. But that's also why, like, for a long time, Apple used 326 ppi on iPhones, and people made fun of them because on like the 4-inch screen, it wasn't even HD. On the 4.7-inch screen, it was 750p. But that's what they had declared to be Retina. Anyway. So that's the screen. Obviously, no touch, and I feel like I want to touch it sometimes already. That's going to be interesting. iPhone and iPad apps are supposed to work on here now, and I feel like that's going to be even more awkward. But the Mac OS, if you're familiar with Mac OS, there's not much to see. The Control Center's new. That's new for Big Sur. Spotlight Search, obviously, is there. Siri, that came, a couple of years ago? I don't remember. The widgets are new. This is the, widgets. So, the widgets all got a redesign as part of iOS 14 and the whole round of updates that Apple put out this year. So, that's pretty cool. Otherwise it's just, Mac OS Launchpad. Obviously I focus on Windows a lot of the time, and if you follow my videos, then you've seen me do a lot of Windows stuff. So, anyway, the keyboard, right? So let's take a look at that. The keyboard is a lot better than it used to be. There was obviously a lot of blowback over the butterfly keyboard. So these are the scissor switches or whatever. So far, I mean, it seems fine from what I used while setting it up. It does have the haptic touch trackpad. So that's interesting. It's a big trackpad, which is great. I love that Apple actually uses the available real estate that it has to do that. It's a very well-designed machine, too. By the way, we have the touch bar at the top, and if you've seen Microsoft's latest ads where they just mock Apple for having a touch bar instead of a whole touchscreen, I actually, I've always kind of liked the idea of a touch bar. They did. There is still an escape key, but they remove the function keys. F1, F2, F3, and basically it's customizable by app now. So now, you can see, there's stuff there right now. There's a share button, but you can change it. You can. Let's see if I. Yeah. See. So I just put that, expands, and there's a whole bunch of settings there, and apps can change it so you can use it for different things. I think it's really smart. Seems like some of the bugs aren't worked out, but whatever. Like I said, well-designed machine, though. It's very light. Speakers next to the keyboard, and it just feels good. It's a MacBook. If it was a Windows PC, I'd be calling it a MacBook clone, but this is the original. So I like the design feels dull to me. If you compare this to, say, like a lot of Windows PCs, like an HP Spectre, or even the Razer Book, which is almost like a companion video to this one, by the way, you're going to see, just better design. Here are those two USB Type-C ports. I think they're supposed to be USB 4, maybe, but Apple was calling them Thunderbolt in the keynote, and so. I know things like an external GPU won't work, but I assume that that's more of an issue with native drivers and such, and possibly even compatibility with the chipset, rather than with the port itself. Yeah, and then over here we have a 3.5 millimeter audio jack. Well, that's it. I actually kind of like the touch bar. Yeah, first of all, if you know me, you know that I'm a fan of competition. You know that I enjoy Qualcomm PCs, but it's also you do have to remember, if you're looking at compatibility, a lot of the early reviews for this were great. Apple does pick favorites when they send out review units. That's a fact, but. Those reviews were great. Then you had people who actually bought the machine and reviewed it later on, and those reviews weren't so great because you had weird app compatibility. Apparently Apple's Rosetta translation is awesome, but there are still some serious compatibility issues that are like roadblocks. And I saw one person who was on that early review list say this is an enterprise issue. We looked at the consumer perspective. And I asked, what's the consumer perspective? And I never got an answer because that to me is, it's a very strange thing to say. The consumer perspective, people tend to think of consumers as just these idiots that just use computers to check their email and Facebook. And no one actually does that. Everybody has a use case, especially if you're spending this much on a PC. This isn't about Hyper-V on Windows or anything. This is about running the apps that you need to run. And you got to remember also, this is a time when a lot of people are working from home, so this is one laptop for everything. Your consumer laptop where you might be watching Netflix at night, but also you need Slack and everything during the day to connect to your job. So I've just never been a big fan of when people divide up consumer and enterprise features when those two worlds blend together, even when we're not working from home all the time. And this has been a trend in computing for years now, where just this idea of one laptop for your life, where you have a business PC that also focuses on entertainment features and stuff like that. So there are enterprise-specific features, and if you want to take a look at what those are, look at the difference between Windows 10 Home and Pro. Those Pro features, I don't necessarily agree with that either because I think Hyper-V has a broader use case. But anyway, you can take a look at that and those are or look at enterprise mobility and Intune and stuff like that. That's enterprise stuff. apps like Outlook. Outlook is not an enterprise app. Like when those early reviews went out, Office was not native. Chrome, not native. And so like these are real issues, So anyway, guys, the next video I'm going to make, which will probably go live right around the same time as this one, is the Razorbook. And when I unbox the Razorbook, I'm going to unbox all these accessories that I showed you as well, because that's the one that it's going to work with. The external GPU is not going to work with this. That fingerprint sensor on the SSD is not going to work with it. So, I have to wonder, like if you have a fingerprint sensor that's supposed to keep your SSD secure, does that mean that if I have that fingerprint sensor set up, that I won't be able to access the information on the drive at all from a Mac? So like these are real issues, and it's all about the you can't connect an Xbox controller to this right now, which is weird because Apple puts so much work into making them compatible with iPhones and iPads and Apple TV. So like there's a lot of weird limitations. All of these limitations were briefed by Intel to me. But that's why I'm going to be doing my own testing now, and I'm going to be writing up my own findings. So like I said, the next video is going to be the Razorbook, and that's where we're going to look at all these cool accessories. And then after that, I'm going to start doing a lot of testing, and then I'll be writing up my results on NeoWin, and then we'll have reviews of both the MacBook Pro and the Razorbook. And so stay tuned, guys. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. I'm very excited about this project because it's a little different for me, because I usually just review products and then I move on to the next one. And this one, there's actually some cool in-depth stuff to do here, and I'm pretty excited about it. So stay tuned. I'm Rich from NeoWin. Have a great night.